Hey guys, thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network. I'm Joel, currently driving. As you can see, I'm heading out to the range to test out this Magpul Pro 700 chassis. So I've been out to the range a couple of times. There was nothing wrong with the chassis per se, but last time I went out there, I couldn't even get the gun zeroed. I actually ran out of windage adjustment in the scope. I'm assuming because I don't have these Burris rings set up correctly. Absolutely ridiculous. The little inserts are not easy to figure out. I mean, if rings come with an instruction booklet, there's something going on, man. Like, just make rings. I don't understand the inserts. I'm really not going to say nice things about these Burris rings as we get into this. But I'm hoping to get some great shots with the Magpul Pro 700 chassis today, and give you guys that follow-up video. So let's get out to the range and see what we get. Alright guys, arrived at the range as you can see, and I've got the Magpul 700 chassis all set up now finally. Really wasn't the chassis that needed to be set up, it was the scope inside these Burris rings. Man, I'm going to harp on these Burris rings until I'm blue in the face. I got to tell you. I've got her zeroed at 100 yards, and I've already taken a few shots, at least out to 400 yards. And again, this is a 223 Remington 700 barreled action that I dropped into this. So I know that it likes the Federal Gold Medal Match 69 grain Sierra bullets the best, and so that's what I'm running, just factory loads. I typically get 3/4 inch groups with that factory ammunition. So let's go ahead and stretch this out. We'll work it out in 100-yard increments and see what we get. Now, I've only got out to 600 yards today, so you'll have to forgive that a little bit, but that's a good poke with the 223. Alright guys, so I am just now leaving the range after shooting the Magpul Pro 700 chassis again today. Again, I dropped a 223 Remington 700 barreled action into it. Brownells was generous enough to send me a Steiner PX4i. I believe it's a 4-16 by 50. So I'm just going to kind of wrap this up and give you my thoughts on the chassis and the optic, and on the rings, and we'll go from there. So shooting it today, I zeroed at 100 yards, and so I finally figured out how those little ring inserts go into the rings properly. I was able to zero at 100 yards, no problem. I got my typical 3/4, between 1/2 and 3/4 inch groups. with that Federal Gold Medal match 69 grain ammo. That's par for the course. So as far as the chassis increasing the accuracy over and above the stock that I had it in, it didn't really increase the accuracy at all. I didn't see it go in the wrong direction, so that's a good thing. But it did not increase the accuracy, even though it's very well free floated. In fact, nothing on that chassis touches the barrel all the way back to the recoil lug. So that's pretty nice. So going from kind of the factory stock that comes with like a Remington 700 factory gun, switching to the Magpul Pro 700 chassis, I think you'd probably see some improvement in the overall accuracy. So that could be great. I was already going from a fairly nice aftermarket stock to the Magpul, and so I really didn't see a change there. But it did bolt up nice, and everything was great. So 100 yard zero was good, and then I ended up stretching out in 100-yard increments, as you saw in some of the video, out to 600 yards today. And little bit of a switchy wind. It's only like, the worst winds are from switching from straight in front of you to just a little bit off, like the 1 or 2 o'clock, and then over to the 12, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, that sort of thing, and back again. And so that's what I had today. And so we probably had about 70% hits, but I was able to probably had about 70% hits today, just trying to figure out the wind with that little 223. But able to get the hits and no issues there. So accuracy is great. Now the features of the chassis, I was able to purchase an aftermarket Picatinny rail section, a little 4 or 5 inch rail section that I ended up attaching to the bottom of the Magpul Pro 700 chassis. And then I was able to run my Atlas bipod on the bottom of there. So no issues there, and Magpul does sell, Brownells sells a lot of aftermarket M-LOK accessories that will attach directly to that chassis. Any other rail sections you might need, and I believe Area 419 also makes some attachments, so you might be able to attach like a universal ARCA rail or something like that to the bottom of a chassis. So good functionality there. Really no complaints about this chassis other than the price. The $1,000 price tag, I think, is what most people are kind of screaming about with this chassis. You compare it to something like Masterpiece Arms that you can typically get for somewhere around $800, $850 to $900. There's nothing about the Magpul chassis other than its ability to be used for left-handed people over and above the Masterpiece Arms. I just don't see any other reason a guy would choose it other than being left-handed and just being out of options. It's just priced too high. I think most people would agree with that. $1,000 for the Magpul chassis. It needs to be, my opinion personally, it needs to be around $700, something like that. It needs to, if it wants to be competitive, it needs to be lower priced, probably a good 20 to 30% lower priced. But that's just my opinion, and I don't know if anybody shares that, but I think that's the main downside with the chassis. Moving on to the Optic, the Steiner PX4i or P4XI, whatever it's called, 4-16 by 50. Excellent little optic, to be honest. The glass is clear and bright, no edge distortion on it whatsoever that I could tell. Just really no issues with it, other than I don't particularly like the parallax adjustment knob. Parallax was, I like lines telling me, 100 yards, 150, 200 yards, that sort of thing, because my eyes tend to line up pretty stinking well with the 100-yard, markings on a parallax adjustment. And so, for there to be no markings whatsoever on the parallax, it just takes some getting used to for me. It wasn't horrible. I just would choose something different if I had the ability to choose it. So the reticle was fine, you know, hash marks in there, everything in mils, it just works. So really no complaints. I would recommend the Optic, you know, definitely over something like an Athlon or anything like that. It's probably on par with the you know, the new Vortex Vipers, and I would say the new Vortex Viper PSTs, the Gen 2s, probably a little bit better yet, just because, you know, you've got the 5-25 and the EBR2C reticle is great. In fact, I like the Christmas tree reticle a little bit better. All those things put together, again, the Burris rings are crap, don't buy them. But other than that, thumbs up for the Magpul Pro 700 chassis, guys. Hopefully you got something out of the review. It's a little bit more extensive review than I normally do. Video's a little bit longer than I normally do. But I wanted to give it the, you know, proper amount of time, since Brownells was generous enough to send it over to me. So hit them up, give them some love, and tune in again soon for another great video from Precision Rifle Network.